is presented by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea. Please drink responsibly.
5 touchdowns, 52 yards rushing, and the lead block in the fourth quarter. Could the MVP be the MVP? Also, ball nights, and also ball nights. What are the chances Bron and Bronny play tonight on a nationally televised game with every camera on them? Suspense. Let's go around the horn.
Early second quarter.
Little nervous. The superlatives are approaching endless for Lamar Jackson. So yes, 5 touchdowns passing, 50 yards rushing, blocking for Derrick Henry. He has touchdowns as incompletions last night. That's a great stat. Tack on Henry's 169 yards, and it's Baltimore 41, Tampa 31. Whether the Ravens prove they are the best team in the NFL around the horn to Clifton Yates.
They're absolutely, definitively the best 5-2 team in the league, Tony. And this, the thing about it, is that Lamar Jackson is playing football like we've never seen him play before. The fact this guy is improving at this stage of the game, I think really says something to what he's been as a leader. He talked about in the offseason, hey, I've slimmed down. I think I'm a better player. He's proving it now. The reason why I'm not putting them above the Chiefs is because they still give up too many points for my taste. They're bend and don't break kind of situation with timely stops being how they do things, which is fine. I still don't trust that, though, when it comes to a playoff situation. However, the talent on the field with the Baltimore Ravens right now is undeniable, and it looks like they still even got room to improve on an offense from an offensive standpoint.
Tim Kalishaw, around the horn to you.
I do think Lamar has gotten better. I mean, some quarterbacks struggle to maintain that level after they get the big money. I'm not thinking of anyone in particular here in Dallas or anywhere else. I'm just saying some guys do struggle with that. And Lamar, I mean, he's laughing at the end of that 17-yard run when it's 2nd and 15. He knows he can go get the yardage, and he's playing with a running back who looks like Eric Dickerson in high school. He's just bigger and faster than the guys on the other team, and he may just run around all of them when he gets the opportunity. I don't think they're the best team in the NFL because of their defense, which is not what we usually think of as the Ravens' defense, but their offense could take them all the way.
You may have heard
anyway.
a point deduction there, Tim, because you referenced Eric Dickerson in high school, which I appreciate the history. But you have Derrick Henry in high school. The stats on Derrick Henry in high school are the greatest of all time. You could have just used
Big, tall
the actual player. Courtney Cronin, around the horn to you.
Yeah, and the stats on Derrick Henry right now are better than any running back in the NFL. He should be in the MVP mix just as much as Lamar Jackson looking for his third. But this offense is the spectacle factor. Like, that's the difference between them and Kansas City. You've got the best quarterback in the world on Kansas City with a leash, with an offense that has a leash that will go as long as Patrick Mahomes does. This offense in Baltimore can get it done so many ways, whether it's Mark Andrews coming back to life after his slow start, Rashad Bateman and the contributions that he had last night, Lamar Jackson, 5 touchdowns, Derrick Henry, so on and so forth. To me, the reason I will not put them above the Chiefs just yet is because they have been known for blowing leads on defense. Can they course correct there? It appears that they're heading in the right direction in spite of some of the injuries they have, but they were number 2 in total DVOA, Tony, going into this week. That shows you complete team-wise that they deserve to be in the mix as the best team in the NFL.
But you're just putting it in as a mix right now. Frank Gaisolo, the question to you, are they definitively the best team in the NFL?
I think they are right now. Doesn't mean they're going to be Kansas City in the playoffs, which right now Kansas City hasn't lost yet, so they would have home field advantage. But Baltimore turned their season around like a lot of teams do against the Tim Kalishaw Dallas Cowboys down in Jerry's world when they put that spanking on them. And, Tony, you referenced the stat by Lamar Jackson, the 5 touchdown passes running for at least 50 yards. He's done that 3 times in his career. No other NFL quarterback has done it more than once. You know, you think about the evolution of the position, and he's got a lot to do with it. And I agree with Clinton. I also agree with Tim. His confidence level is up, and he's in a perfect situation. But, guys, we also know this about Lamar Jackson. It's still going to come down to the playoffs. Fair or unfair, these guys had accomplished a lot during the regular season, and there's something to be said about that. It's still about getting it done in the playoffs, and that guy on Kansas City is always going to be standing there.
Another thing from last night, the injuries piling up for Tampa and the season-ending injury for Chris Godwin. Todd Bowles was asked after the game multiple times about Godwin in the game with 40 seconds left, down 10. Here's the exchange.
Do you have an obligation to protect your players from themselves?
I do protect my players all the time. That has nothing to do with why we left them in the ball game. We still have a shot to score some points and win the ball game.
Courtney, how do you consider it?
Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Remember 9 months ago in the divisional playoffs when Tampa Bay walked off the field down 8. They still had a timeout left because Todd Bowles apparently did not believe in his team's ability to mount a comeback. Well, they tried here. They had just gotten the onside kick. They had scored. Yes, to us watching on TV, it felt like this game was over, but no coach is ever going to, so long they want to keep their job, they're never going to concede, even if there is a minute left. And no player is ever going to take himself out of the game when he's seen everything that his team has had to overcome in that moment. The reason this feels so heavy is because they effectively lost their entire offense last night. Mike Evans and the hamstring injury, Chris Godwin out for the year with a dislocated ankle. They accounted for 49% of the team's receiving yards. They were at the top of the league in terms of most of the receiving stats this season. That's a tough blow for a team that may have had the dagger to their season in week 7.
Tim Kalisha?
Yeah, it's a terrible blow, but if you look at it from the coaches or the fans' standpoint, it was 41-18. Now it's 41-31. You're not going to be taking players out when you've already recovered an onside kick. You're going to keep playing. But, I mean, having already lost Evans, that's just a massive hit for a team that was winning 10-0 at the end of the first quarter.
We've been horned. We'll move on. Ball nights! Celtics, Knicks to open the season. Thank you, Courtney. Like hearing it from the ladies.
I said it in the open.
No overreaction to what happens tonight, I'm sure. Boston, mission repeat. New York, expectations high. And a first look at Karl Anthony Towns with the Knicks in the regular season. For the champs, though, Joe Mazzulla says there's zero pressure. Listen to this quote.
Zero, no pressure. We're all going to be dead soon, and it really doesn't matter anymore, so there's zero pressure. We're either going to win or we're not, and 40 years from now, none of you are invited to my funeral, and that's it.
On Celtics mission repeat and zero pressure and the impending death for all of us, around the horn to Frank Isola.
I'll tell you what, he's signing up for 40 more years. I'll sign up as well. If I know I'm going to be alive 40 more years, I'd be happy with that. You know, the one thing about the pressure for them, I think they were really feeling it last year. Remember, they were coming off that conference finals loss to Miami where they lost Game 7. Everyone thought you got to break up Tatum and Brown. I don't think there's pressure. I actually think they're motivated by what happened. It felt like the Knicks were more of the toast of the town and the toast of the NBA than the Boston Celtics. No, Tatum got the 2 DMPs at the Olympics. Is it a big deal in the grand scheme of things? No. Jaylen Brown was ticked off that he wasn't one of the 12 best Americans selected to the team. They actually come in with an edge, and they already have the most talent. And guess what? They actually take the regular season seriously. They won 64 games last year. And guess what? They were rewarded with a so-called easier draw in the schedule. That's how it works out for the best.
So when you consider their chances for a repeat, Frank Isola, where are you putting that? Let's play odds maker for me, right? Chances of a repeat for the Boston Celtics.
2 big things here. You know, we talk about LeBron's age. Al Horford's in that same ballpark. I believe he's 39. Porzingis will start the season injured. But that team, if you're asking me right this minute, which you are, yes, I'm taking the Boston Celtics to repeat.
All right, I want an odds maker. Thank you very much. Give me 50% and sell it, 20%. You've lost your chance. Courtney Cronin, around the horn to you.
I like this version of nihilist Joe Mazzulla, but just to be clear, I think funerals are public forums, so anybody could come if they want to when that day arises. Anyways, Tony, it's hard to repeat in the NBA. We've seen it happen once recently with the Golden State Warriors in 2018, but if any team has a chance to do this, it's what the Boston Celtics did this offseason, the hard work that Brad Stevens put in to get Derek White, to get Drew Holiday, to get Jason Tatum all re-signed. So this group that cruised through the regular season last year, they were number 1 in just about every single category. That same team is here this year. And let me tell you, watching Jason Tatum in the preseason and seeing how well he's been shooting the 3-ball, nearly 40%, he hasn't done that since 1920. This team's going for the all-time 3-point record. They were number 2 last year. I think they take it personally that the Golden State Warriors have that mark, and I think that that's going to lead them to being in that position where they are the best team.
You were citing preseason stats, which is very impressive, but also 1920, of course, being the 2019-2020 season. Tim Kalishaw, around the horn to you on mission repeat.
Just to echo Courtney, everybody is invited to my funeral, and you don't have to wait 40 years. Trust me. But on the other issue, the Celtics have about a 25 to 30%.
Thank you for answering the question.
Chance of repeating, and that's pretty good. We're not in an era of teams repeating since Golden State and Cleveland gave us those 4 in a row. We've had different teams in the finals. We thought in the middle of last season, Denver's going to repeat. Before that, we thought whoever else was going to repeat. We always think somebody's going to repeat. It's very hard, even as good as the Celtics are. Now, we think of them as being able to do it because I don't think the East is great. The Knicks are really their biggest opposition. Keep an eye on the Pelicans. I'm just telling you this for future reference. There's only one team in the NBA with 4 20-point scores from last year. They play in New Orleans.
Okay, on the other side. Yeah, okay, all right.
I'll talk to you about them in April. Just
Clinton Yates.
In case the Celtics get through.
Mission repeat. How should the Celtics be approaching it?
I'll get the housekeeping out of the way. I think they have a 50% chance of repeating
50?
because in the
Wow,
West, as Tim
big
referred
number.
to, nobody knows who's going to make the playoffs and who's not. And in the East, the next best team seems to be getting injured all the time. So I'll give them a very good chance. But at the same time, I'm not sure I understand this messaging from Missoula. You don't think that it's going to be a lot of pressure to repeat? You're the team in the NBA with the highest number of titles. If there's pressure to repeat in an era in which we don't, this is the team in which the pressure is going to exist. And what's the issue with that? You're the Boston Celtics. You have the most talent there is. It's an odd way to start off a season for me for a team that I think obviously has enough skill. Olympics nonsense aside, it would seem that confidence should be at a much bigger premium there. I'm not sure I understand this from Joe whatsoever.
For the Knicks on the other side, number one thing you're looking for tonight, start of the season for them, and will you be willing to say they're number one contenders to Boston in the East? Around the horn, Frank Isola.
I think they are. I think it's the first time in 25 years that you could say that the Knicks are an actual legitimate championship contender. The big thing will be Mikal Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns, who essentially have replaced Julius Randle, Isaiah Hartenstein, and Dante DiVincenzo. DiVincenzo and Hartenstein in the playoffs, mental and physical toughness. You know this, Tony. That's important there at Madison Square Garden. We'll see how that
Tim
works out.
Kalishaw, do you believe this is a mentally strong team still?
I honestly think Bridges is a huge addition that kind of gets underplayed as everybody talks about Karl Anthony Towns. I think the Knicks are very good.
But no played with the Knicks in this offseason. Tim, nothing at all. Clinton Yates, I'll give you last
better
word
when
here.
the Knicks are good.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, this is the biggest fit check I've ever seen. Get rid of all those people for those two players when you already had a pretty good melange. This better work if you're in New York.
Take a break. More Ball Night next. Ball night long, ball night, ball night, ball night long. Lakers, Timberwolves.
Ball night.
No overreaction to what happens tonight, I'm sure. New look T-Wolves with Julius Randle. And on the other side, LeBron and Bronny, of course. The Griffeys, Junior and Senior, will be in the house on hand to witness. What if they made the trip and it never happens? Clinton Yates, what you buy, what you sell?
What I'm buying here is that what the Lakers are doing is bigger than just this stunt. What they're trying to do is motivate LeBron in year 20 whatever to be the best player he can be because they need him. And in a wide open West, a motivated LeBron gives you half of a shot. They got better younger players, Quincy Oliveri and Dalton Knecht, who's got 2 nicknames out here already, who they're focused on. This is one thing, but there is a goal more largely for what the Lakers are trying to do.
I think it's year 22 for LeBron. Tim Kalishaw, how about you?
I think that's a pretty good answer for something that seems awfully silly in every other aspect. A second-round pick who wouldn't even have been drafted otherwise, who made 1 of 12 threes. He would not be getting on the floor under normal circumstances. But tonight he will, and he'll play with LeBron, and that'll be kind of cool for a moment. But I hope this isn't something they're going to continue night after night unless it's earned.
Courtney Cronin.
If they continue it night after night, it's probably because they're losing games and they're putting Bronny in garbage time. Look, this is a spectacle, and I get why it's happening in a nationally televised game. Everybody wants to see this. But let's not group Ken Griffey Sr. and Ken Griffey Jr. in with LeBron James, arguably the GOAT to some people, and his son, who hasn't proven anything just yet. Those two are in completely different categories, completely different realms, and until Bronny shows us that he's more than what he, kind of got off to a pretty bad start in the preseason, I don't believe that this experiment, whatever they're doing, is going to work.
Frank Isola.
Yeah, Courtney's right. It's the same, but it's very different. I like what you said, Tony. They'll be at the game tonight as if it's Roger Maris's family following Aaron Judge around until he breaks down. He's playing tonight. The game is on TNT. They want to get that first one out of the way. And I'll say this, too. Have about him check in the second quarter with LeBron would be pretty neat. And guess what? After that happens, you get the pomp and circumstance out of the way. If he belongs in the NBA, stay. If he should go down to the G League, which seems to be the case, to kind of grow a little bit and develop.
You think that'll be all right? You could see that not leading to more drama at all, Frank Isola?
I think, hey, LeBron knows what's best for his kid, but when you watch him play, it seems like he needs time to develop. He didn't have a great one and only year at USC. Let him play a lot in the G League. That'll help him, I think.
Buy or sell Tua? Tua.
Every time we all suit up, we're all taking a risk that we could potentially get hurt, whether it's a concussion, a broken bone, anything. You get up off of the bed the wrong way, you potentially could risk you spraining your ankle. There's just risk in any and everything, and I'm willing to play the odds. I appreciate your concern. I really do. I love this game, and I love it to the death of me.
Tim Calishow, how'd you hear Tua Tagovailoa there?
It's very concerning because that's something people said 15 years ago. It's something we all said. We talked about concussions and broken bones as if they belonged in the same category. Then through League of Denial and other reporting, we learned concussions are very, very different for football players and can lead to early onset dementia in a whole lot of players. It seems like while Tua has obviously the right to play as long as he wants to play, he's ignoring a lot of evidence that says he's at great risk by doing this.
40 Cronin.
I heard him as kind of flippant, not just there, but in the comments when he was asked, are you planning to wear the Guardian cap? He said, nope. What do you need to do to stay on the field? Just change certain aspects of my game. Like, I understand that this is his livelihood. This is everything that he has ever worked for. And non-athletes who are not in this position, like myself, can't truly understand it, which is why I think we've got to take ourselves out of this. He's got to understand the risks that he's putting himself in. Risk for his well-being, his longevity, far beyond his early 20s, where he's at right now. And what happens if he gets another concussion? That's not going to affect us long-term. That's going to affect Tua Tagovailoa. And if that's something that he is okay with, knowing the risks, then we've just got to sign up for it and see how it goes.
Tony, my experience with players is they don't like talking about injuries. They definitely don't like talking to the media about them as well. You know, we all know everyone's rooting for Tua. Seems like a great guy, comes from a great family. But let's face it, I didn't really feel that hit that he took from Damar Hamlin was really that rough. He's going to take a lot of hits. I hope he knows what he's doing. You wish him the best, but it is a risky proposition.
I do believe there's a world in which we can look at this as only affecting Tua, but I also think more humanely as it affects everybody in Tua's life as well. When people see this kind of stuff, these are the things that parents think about when they say, I don't want my kid getting too seriously involved in football, because they ended up taking it seriously to the point that they're willing to risk the rest of their lives to do it. I get it. That's what you do. It's your job. But just to watch this as a person was very, very depressing, quite honestly, Tony. I didn't like to see him talk about it like that at all.
Thank you for your thoughts on that. Tua's first public comments since his most recent concussion last month. All signs pointing towards him returning to the lineup this weekend to play quarterback for the Dolphins. Clinton Yates, Tim Calishow, thank you for your time today. Courtney Cronin, Frank Isola, showdown next. Cardinals 17, Chargers 15 in a field goal-tastic affair. Arizona's came to win it. LA's only points to muster came off of 5 kicks. Oof. Courtney, takeaway.
You can't blame late game officiating for why the Chargers lost this game. It's so fitting. They have 395 yards of offense and they don't score a touchdown. Justin Herbert breaks Patrick Mahomes' record to be the fastest with 1,700 pass attempts. 0 touchdowns, 0 points from the offense.
Sola.
Yeah, Justin Herbert's a great quarterback. He needs to start winning. How about the Cardinals not giving up an offensive touchdown for the first time since 2021? And Kyler Murray, like me, is kind of up and down. This year, he seems to be up. If only they had won on opening week in Buffalo, things would be a little different for Kyler Murray in Arizona.
So earlier, Courtney was giving stats from preseason. Frank just gave us, they haven't done this since all the way back in 2021. No, that's not.
Counts.
We'll move on. Puck night. Return to Frozen Frenzy. Every team in action tonight, starting at 32 minutes and going all night long. Frank, what to watch for?
It sounds like counter-programming to another network. I love it. I especially like Carolina, Edmonton tonight. Edmonton is a great team. But, Tony, I'm going tradition here. New York at Montreal. You haven't lived until you've seen the Canadiens live. I've been there. Pretty cool. I like this idea.
Gordy Cronin.
18 days ago was actually the season opener. So for those who think that they're starting the league out with all 32 teams playing, it's because you, like me, could not watch the game because it was being played in Prague on a channel that you did not have access to.
So you're saying they should start the season with the Frozen Frenzy, right? Yeah, that's the way.
Yes, and far later than October 4th.
You need a standalone game on opening
Gordy
night.
Cronin, that's how you win a FaceTime.
If you are in Chicago on Thursday, I would be honored for you to join me at our annual Vaughn McClure and Jeff Dickerson Foundation event happening at Tao Chicago, 6 to 9 p.m. Tickets are available at tvmjdfoundation.org. And if you can't make it, please consider contributing to the incredible causes that this foundation, which honors two of my former co-workers, Vaughn, who covered the Atlanta Falcons, Jeff Dickerson, who was my mentor at ESPN Radio and at ESPN's NFL Nation, covering the Chicago Bears. It will be a great time, and I hope to see many of you there.
Thank you for saying that, Gordy.